Good morning, guys. Thanks for joining me on this Monday. It is, what's today's date? Monday, January 22nd, 8:30 in the morning. Lord, is it cold. We just went through 2 full days. I got my big jacket on. I'm a Floridian, y'all. It's a little nippy out here, but doesn't mean we can't do on patrol, because hey, results one lets us do it rain or shine, hot or cold. Got the seat warmers on. Hope you guys had an amazing weekend. You know, what a weekend it was. Let's recap a little bit before we get started. What did we do? Friday we talked about passing and what the indicators mean on the ground, what striping means, when you can pass, what lanes, what colors, all that fun jazz. You can head to clickorlando.com and check out Fridays. And then Saturday was a cool day. Pop-up we did at the Oviedo Mall with the 18th annual Cops and Kids Car Show. What a blast that was. Got to meet so many of you guys out there. Really, really great time. And just always fun. For me, the 2 hours from 5 a.m. to 7 is what I pay, and this is obviously, I'm being facetious here, what I pay in order to be out in the community with you guys. To me, that's what it's all about. The 4 of us are locked in that box for several hours. So many of you guys watch us and trust us with information, and then that's it, the day's over. But for me, the spark, the joy I receive is when I get to meet you guys and you remind me of things I have said or things I have covered, and then in return you guys appreciate it. It means the world to me. So I really just wanted to take a moment and say thank you guys. Met so many of young kids too. Some of y'all are so young and watching. Man, lets me know I'm doing something right, y'all, right? So the question came up. I'm headed up to just an intersection, large intersection in Seminole. The one I was originally going to go to didn't have anybody at it this morning, and probably because of the cold, let's be real. So the question was presented about panhandling and pedestrians selling things. Okay, Speed Racer. Whoa. That's the thing. People speed and they got their company's logo like right on their car, dummy. So it was presented, the question was asked, hey, is it legal to just pop up at an intersection and sell things? Whether it be a water, sodas, snacks. Recently, in my neck of the woods, I have seen, people out in the intersection selling flowers and things with a sign. Now, I don't want anyone to watch this and think I'm this cold-hearted safety preacher, okay? But let's be real about this. You are literally mixing your body with vehicular traffic. So there are rules in place. I understand some people may not want to follow a lot of these rules. So what I would like to do is come out to an intersection and just show you how dangerous it can be. We're going to head out up here to 46A and Reinhardt, large intersection. It's the first intersection just east of I-4. And recently, I personally have seen an uptick in individuals selling items at the intersection. So when this came in, when this question came in, it's the first place that stuck out to me. But I also thought I-4 Lee Road. We see it all the time, either panhandling or people selling things and walking in the travel lanes. So this is going to be 2-part. We're going to talk about how dangerous what you're doing is, and then I want to talk about what traffic law says, and then we're going to also talk about the differences of what certain people are doing and how they make it legal, and the steps that you fail to take that make it illegal. Because you think about it, if you're going to be selling things for a profit here in the state of Florida, There's sales tax that are required with things like that. If you are just selling things and this is the way of life that you're doing, technically you're avoiding some type of sales tax. So we are going to talk about that. What does the law specifically say about certain things? But my big focus is obviously having people out in the roadway. So we're still on I-4. We're about 2 minutes out from the intersection that I want to get at. So if you're joining us this morning, first and foremost, I hope you're having an amazing Monday morning. It is cold all across Central Florida. Heat is going to pick up later this week, but it is a chilly, cloudy morning. No rain in the forecast today, per meteorologist Jonathan Kagas, who is in for meteorologist Candice Campos today. But still a beautiful day outside in my book. 50 degrees, results one is reading currently. So we're going to get off here at 46A and observe the intersection. We'll pull off on the side of the road so you can see certain things and we can talk about it. We may not get into complete detail about everything just because, who knows, maybe we won't see what we're looking for. But we'll hang out for a little bit, do our best to really get a personal eyes view of how dangerous stuff like this can actually be. So we're eastbound I-4 right now at, what time is it? 8:37 in the morning. No eastbound issues out here. Westbound, completely different story. Yeah, look at that westbound traffic. Not even moving this morning. Definitely tell it's a Monday. All right, so we're going to get off here in Seminole at 46A. So I initially checked out Lee Road and I-4. There was no one out there this morning. I think the temperatures are keeping a lot of people in this morning. But we'll come out here, talk about it, go over what the rules say, the laws say, and then, of course, how dangerous it is for people to be out walking. Again, this is not an attack on anybody who's doing what they have to do for survival. I will say, going way too fast. Like, why? You're on a motorcycle, bro. It's 50 degrees outside, bro. Alright. But, again, it's not an attack on anybody. I really don't want anyone to think, man, Steve's coming at these pedestrians. That's not the case, guys. You have to remember where I come from and my point of view to you. I always get off your phone. I need you to understand that. I did not go to school to be a journalist, to write a story, to tell you guys things. I am a cop at heart, a Florida State Trooper, decision of my own, because I had such a passion for traffic safety. And when I tell you I have seen the nastiest of nastiest outcomes, I've seen it. I've been there. And when I'm here talking to you guys, I just want to prevent any of it from ever happening. And this is why I get so wound up about certain things. Because some of the stuff I've seen, guys, haunts me to this day in my dreams. And when I see it out here and people are like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, it breaks my heart. Because it is a horrible situation that we put ourselves in as civilians. So we're going to pull over here into the parking lot. It does not, heavy construction zone out here today along 46A. They're doing a big expansion of the roadway out here. You can see a lot of the flashing lights everywhere, barrels on the side of the road, other lanes no longer there with concrete barriers. You can see the one to my right there on the right side of your screen. We got the green light, so we're going to go. But I am going to pull off into the parking lot over here. Gotta love when people don't pay attention to the lights. Really drives me crazy. Alright, so let's pull off into the parking lot over here. If I'm able to get out, we'll get out. And we'll see how this goes. I think we're going to be able to do some stuff here. Nice little U-turn. So ABC parking lot, obviously they're closed right now, but I do want to talk about a few things. So we're going to find a nice parking spot right here. All right, so currently, this is what we're chatting about today. Pedestrians out in the roadway drives me crazy because we are the number one or top for vehicles versus pedestrians in the entire country. Not something to be proud of, right? Whose fault is it most of the time? The pedestrian. But at the same time, a lot of these crashes are the result of drivers just choosing not to be polite, not to yield right of way in certain situations and things like that. So what happens? Things get crazy. Things get a little out of whack when it comes to how we're supposed to be yielding to each other and things like that. So I'd like to do is really dive into what the law says. So first and foremost, Florida law, if you're trying to, let's say, sell something on the side of the road, right? What do you need? So let's use the firefighters as an example, right? Occasionally, you will see you'll see firefighters walking around with a boot, right? Now, what are they not doing? They're never in the travel lanes, right? And they're collecting a donation. They're not selling anything. They're collecting a donation you put in the boot. When they do this, they get permitted to be out there. A lot of the times, so when you see the school fundraisers, you'll see a high school football team out at an intersection. Now, I may not be overly happy with their maneuvering in the vehicle, out in the roadway, but most of the time, at least from what I'm aware of, these sports teams, these clubs at the school have a permit in order to do that. You're going to get a big view of me here. Just a second. I need to grab something. And they have a permit in order to do this. So legally, they are out there. What about the people out selling drinks and stuff before a game, a big sporting game, or something like that? They do not have a permit. At least if I was a betting man, am willing to bet they do not have a permit. So same would apply to, there is a lady by my house that she walks around with a sign and sells flowers at the intersection. Again, this is not me nailing on anybody, guys, but it is so dangerous because you don't know what you're doing. You're out in the middle of the intersection doing what you want, and then you end up holding up traffic, or sometimes people get a little upset and you start to see road rage and stuff like that. So if you're choosing to sell, this is what Florida law says: having a sales tax permit is required for all businesses selling tangible personal property, including hats in the state of Florida. Another thing, something I was mentioning, having that permit alone does not give you the authority to what? Think about it. Where are we selling? Just because you're selling, okay, cool. I'm glad that you're selling items, right? But just because you're selling them, okay, you got the permit. Where are you selling them? You're going to be close to the roadway, right? You're going to be operating with traffic. So then you need a secondary permit, right? So either way, it's pretty much, when we talk about what we're seeing out here, it is illegal. You are not allowed to be doing a lot of the stuff. If you think about the big takeaway of all this, what exactly are we're talking about? We are referring to, just making sure my camera works, sorry, anybody out in the roadway. So even if you're selling things and walking in the road, you're doing it illegally, right? So Let's hop out so I can show you how crazy these roadways are. If you're going to be doing stuff where you should be. And now, I want you to also, I'm playing devil's advocate here. Meaning, if it's illegal but you're still going to do it, I want you to do it the safest way. I understand there are people who are homeless, there are people who are struggling, there are people who are facing tough times, and they're doing what they need to do in order to make ends meet, to make a buck. But when the question gets presented to me, I have to give it to you so you don't get in trouble. So that, because at the end of the day, it's illegal. If you're out here selling flowers without a permit, without a sales tax, business sales tax permit, you're doing it illegally. Same thing would apply if you're out selling bottles of water before a game. It is technically illegal. You are violating state law. You're violating, in some case, an ordinance. But then what about when you're in the roadway? Right? We don't think about that part of it. So, where's my reflective vest? I had it here somewhere. All right, let's hop out. And we'll go chat a little bit. All right, you guys can see me? Oh, I hate that digital thing. I gotta take that focus off. Anyways, we'll come out here. We'll just chat for a second. So when you're out here, the problem is you've got vehicle traffic, and a lot of our portions and intersections you have a heck of a lot of construction. So if you're joining us right now, we're out here at 46A H.E. Thomas Jr. Parkway and Reinhardt, and you can see drivers here, they don't pay a lot of attention. Recently, there's been a lot of pedestrians out in this area selling things, flowers, candy, water, and the question was presented whether or not this is legal. And the answer is most likely no. So in order to sell things, you have to have a sales tax permit. And if you're selling them in the roadway, you would need a separate permit in order to do so, because you'd be walking in the travel lanes. So flat out, no. My biggest thing is always safety and ensuring that pedestrians and vehicles travel together safely. So where in your mind you would think it'd be cool to walk in between cars while you're out here and sell things and have that type of trust really does scare me a little bit, because we've been out here 3 minutes out of the truck, and already 2 people have honked at each other. They've gotten upset, and it is scary. So you have to be very, very cautious when doing stuff like this. So you can see cars are speeding through this area, a lot of construction. So when a pedestrian chooses to be within the area that travel lanes are, you're taking your own life really and putting it at risk at that point. So what are the consequences? Well, if you are selling something out here, let's hop back in the truck. If you are selling stuff out here and you're caught, law enforcement can take an action. You can be fined for not having the proper permits. And that is pretty hefty. Let's get back in the truck. It's cold. You can be fined. And you don't want that, especially if you're out here trying to make money, guys. That's the crazy part. So many people out here trying to make a buck, and yet you're putting yourself in harm's way when it comes to consequences, getting a fine, getting cited. It's also extremely frustrating because there are times where a driver could become combative. I have seen aggressive panhandling before, to where I had refused to lower my window. It wasn't out of maliciousness. It wasn't out of spite. It's because I don't know you, you don't know me. You're standing in the middle of the road and you're tapping on my window. Not going to happen. I'm not lowering my window, and you as a driver, or let alone anybody, have the right to ignore anything. We as people should not be walking in traffic. Panhandling in travel lanes is against the law. Now, each city has ordinances set up in order to govern things like that, but when you're out there and you're walking in the travel lane, let me be clear, there is no city that will allow you to just walk in the travel lanes. That does not happen. And it's when we start seeing it and not being enforced is when we start to see a lot of trouble. And I'm not saying people need to get over consequences or be put in jail over stuff like this. But the bad outcome is never minor, if that makes sense. Either these pedestrians get into a fight and things go south, or you get hit by a car. And that's the last thing we want, right? So I'm going to drive through this intersection a few times so we can see what's going on. And I can show you how dangerous it actually is to be walking in this. So for example, what we tend to start to see now is, see the Miata, and you see the red 4Runner, the green 4Runner, people walking in the middle of the travel lanes, and then they would stay there when the lights turn green. This is so dangerous. What's also illegal and dangerous is that Corolla that didn't complete their turn right there. Good job, buddy. So we're gonna make a U-turn here, nice and smooth. So we're out here, Seminole County, 46A, and Reinhardt, where we've seen an increase in panhandling to the point where they're selling items and they're coming up to cars. And the question was asked, is this legal? Well, if they have a sales tax permit and a separate permit to operate in the road, then yes. But I'm going to tell you right now, the chances of that are slim. No one's really filing for stuff like these. This tends to be very off-the-cuff type of handling, looking like they're trying to make ends meet. But I don't think we realize the type of danger we're putting ourselves in when we're in the roadway. You've got people not paying attention. You've got drivers on their phone. You've also have construction that is everywhere. Sometimes sidewalks closed. So if you're walking around the roadway and then say you need to get out of the roadway, where are you going to go? So panhandling in the roadway, illegal. Selling things in the roadway, items, hats, water bottles, anything like that, or even like talking on your cell phone like this lady here in a construction zone, not the best. So this would be technically a hands-free area because it is an active construction zone. Even taking your phone right now to touch on it while you're stopped, active construction zone or school zone, you are not supposed to be doing that. Would you want to be walking around in the travel lanes that someone like this is too busy on their phone? That's the crazy part about this. We are trusting ourselves with everybody else. Still on the phone, still on the phone, still on the phone. I'm going to go as slow as possible so I can watch her. Look at that. Still on the phone. Gotta love it until she realized Results 1 was watching. And this is the mess that we're dealing with, guys. So when I tell you you shouldn't be in the roadway, I also want you to understand I'll always present my counter to it. With this, I have no counter. Because we can't trust each other out here on the road, let alone in cars. If you're walking around, how can we trust each other? Until we all as a society choose to make driving as serious as it actually is, we are never going to reach that level of safety. The laws will not become smoother in time. I definitely don't believe that. So you must adhere to a lot of the simple rules that we have out there, because I can tell you now, look, the pedestrian law not to walk in the roadway or obstruct a motor vehicle isn't there to give you a hard time. It's to make sure you don't get whacked by a car. Now, the selling of items is there because Florida requires a sales tax on items being sold to create a tax revenue. It just is what it is. I'm not providing an opinion on that. I'm just letting you know you can't just sell stuff and then the mom and pop who has a storefront gets taxed, but you don't. So it's truly to make things fair in a sense. So if you're joining us today, we hopped out for a brief second. Look, the temperatures are cold today, so I really did not expect a big turnout when it came to vehicles, pedestrians out today. I think a lot of them are either in shelters or hanging out at their homes, which, hey, I don't blame you. But if you did join us, what did we talk about? Is it legal for people to sell things close to the road or walk around the roadway? First and foremost, no. You need a sales tax permit and a separate permit to operate in travel lanes. So what does that cover? That covers anybody selling flowers, water, juices, snacks, stuff like that occasionally you see out in busy intersections. Makes it illegal. On the traffic side, once a pedestrian starts walking in traffic, that is a traffic law violation. So take those laws and put those aside for 1 second, and then think about the safetiness of it. You're a pedestrian in Central Florida. We have some of the busiest roadways out in the country. We have some of the most dangerous right here in our area when it comes to drivers paying attention to pedestrians and vice versa. So, it is illegal. You should not be operating in the roadway. You can be ticketed for it. But at the end of the day, coming from me, I just want you to be safe. I get tired, absolutely sick and tired of hearing a pedestrian killed either during the day or overnight from a driver when either the pedestrian or the driver were not paying attention. All this crap is avoidable, and we have to take it serious. I could promise you, if we took it as seriously as we preach about everything else, but this is the one thing that affects us so much, we'd start saving lives. We would start doing it as a community, not putting it on anybody else. So if you're a pedestrian out there, you sell things, make sure you're doing it properly. If your school's going to start doing something like that, make sure they have the proper permitting for stuff like that, supervision. Never walk in the roadway. I don't care if the light is red, green, yellow. You should not be in travel lanes. You should only be in the crosswalks. If you're a panhandler and have the opportunity to watch this, listen, God bless you. My heart goes out to you, your situation. But at the end of the day, I want you safe. A blessing is being able to wake up the next day and learning something. I do not want you being hurt because you're trying to make ends meet. Okay? So we could figure something else out other than walking in hot travel lanes. All right, guys, I hope you have an amazing Monday. Stay safe. Head over to clickorlando.com to catch any of the other streams. Of course, always there for you. If you've got a question, comment, concern, you want me to come to your area, all my social medias, you can shoot me a message there and we can chat. Absolutely love you guys. Have an amazing day. Stay safe and wear your seatbelt. And stay out of the road.